Okay, so we're about to dive into a huge idea about language itself, but we're going to start with something incredibly small. A word so common, you've probably already used it a bunch of times today without even noticing.
And that word is say. Yep, just say. We use it all the time, right? It just flows. But it turns out this simple little word is holding a secret, a clue to a really radical idea about how we communicate with each other.
And this clue? Well, you can find it if you know exactly where to look. See, sometimes the most interesting information isn't in the big, bold definition, but it's tucked away in a small note, almost like a hidden label just waiting to be found.
All right, here we go. This is the entry for say from the Simple English Wiktionary. And yeah, it looks pretty standard at first glance. You've got pronunciation, verb forms, the usual stuff. But hidden right there, in plain sight, is one single line that's the key to this entire explainer.
Let's zoom in on that. There it is. See it? Say is on the basic English 850 list. I mean, what on earth is that? You just don't see that in a regular dictionary, do you? It feels intentional. It's like a clue that say isn't just any old word. It's part of some kind of special club.
And that, of course, leads us to the big question we're here to answer today. What is the basic English 850 list?
So let's get into it. Because that one tiny note on a dictionary page, well, it cracks open the door to a whole intentionally designed system for communication.
First, let's just focus on the number itself, 850. Now, this is not a random number. This isn't just like a list of the most popular words. This number, 850, is the entire foundation, the whole vocabulary for a complete language system.
And that system is called Basic English. The whole idea was to create this super streamlined, incredibly efficient version of the language. With just 850 carefully picked words, the goal was to make a tool for universal communication, something that's easy for anyone, anywhere to learn, and clear enough to hopefully avoid those classic misunderstandings. Okay, so let's circle back to where we started, to our little word, say. Because say doesn't just make the cut for this list. It's actually a perfect example of how this whole system is supposed to work.
And what's so cool is when you look at the definition itself, just notice how simple it is. When you say something, you share it in words. It's not using any complicated terms. It's actually using other simple words from the list to explain itself. And that's the whole philosophy of the system right there. Maximum clarity, maximum accessibility.
But, you know, a list of words on its own isn't a language, right? You gotta have some grammar. And this just shows that basic English isn't supposed to be broken English or anything like that. It has rules. The entry gives you the absolute essentials, say, says, said, saying, so you can actually use this core word correctly in pretty much any situation.
And this is where the real genius of the system shines through. Why pick say out of all the possible words? Because it's a powerhouse. It's a workhorse of a verb. Basic English is all about choosing words that can do a ton of heavy lifting. I mean, look, the source shows that say can stand in for words like express, share, speak, and tell. So by including just that one word, say, you get the power of all those other ideas without bloating the vocabulary. It's all about getting the most meaning out of the fewest words possible.
Okay, so that brings us to the really crucial question. Why? Why go to all this trouble? Why try to boil a language with over 1 million words down to just 850? What's the big idea here?
Well, it all comes down to the simple fact that simplicity can be incredibly powerful. A smaller vocabulary makes English way easier for new learners to pick up. It can create a sort of neutral ground for international communication, in business or science, where being crystal clear is everything. It also forces you to really get to the core of what you're trying to say, cutting out all the confusing jargon. At the end of the day, it's a tool designed to connect people by minimizing misunderstanding. And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. The creators of Basic English were convinced you could express almost any idea with just these 850 words. So, if that's even remotely true, what does that say about all the other hundreds of thousands of words we use every single day? What are they all really for? Something to think about.